Now let's talk what others won't be talking about. Listen to us now, this mind's been filled in thoughtful round. We've got to let it out, we've got to let it go. Just wanna let you know.
Hey y'all, welcome to Lesbeopen. I want to make a new intro because I feel like it's time for change. So I'm just going to stop it at welcome to Lesbeopen and say, I'm your host, Tabs, baby. What's good? Hey. And this is Editing Tabs also. I was going to do my intro with the rest of like the video, but when I start getting hit with certain like messages and shit, like if I don't just get it out right there and then, I'm gonna just end up going blank. So I just sometimes be having to just do it. Today at least I was able to plug in the microphone. All the other times I don't even be having the time to plug in the microphone. Sometimes I don't be around the goddamn microphone. I just hit record and I just gotta put it out right there and then. But I was able to get to the mic quick enough and set everything up just in time to get this out with some better audio. But yeah, I feel like I haven't recorded in a while. It has been a while. I still have another video that I have to edit. I've been focusing on just not creating because sometimes I just don't want to. You feel me? I wanted to work on a bunch of content that I had already made for like my regular personal profile, edit some dance videos and whatnot. So that's what I've been doing with my time, but I think I'm slowly starting to get back into recording now for the podcast and making more poetry / just writings for the Instagram. So yeah, just an update. But yeah, I'm gonna pop in the radio right now. See you in a minute. Hey. So I'm finna do my intro after this. But so I just wanted to let me just start by saying this. I get, random messages and what's not. It be at random times. I don't be planning it. But today I was looking at my plants and I have a mint plant. And, I just also want to say, you know what, it's funny how, we could get messages from really the smallest things in life if we just take the time to observe them, to just silently observe them, So I went to the kitchen, I went to grab some water in my cup, and I was getting ready to water my plants. And I have a mint plant and I have a basil plant and I have them like kind of next to each other on the windowsill. And, as I was looking at them, it occurred to me because I just want to say, I'm not the best with plants. I'll be killing plants. Like I'm getting better at it, but it does not come to me naturally. Okay. And with that being said, every single time, I have a plant, I try to take more and more time to learn how to better care for them. And so here I am with my plants, and I noticed that oftentimes when, especially with the plants, I looked up online, I've looked up videos, all sorts of things on, how to care for certain plants, right? And in the many times that I've, had so many basil plants, I always end up killing them one way or another. But something, that I noticed as I observed my plants was that what works for the mint plant is not going to work for the basil plant, right? Even though they have similarities, they can't be cared for in the exact same way. And B, I also noticed, what works for one person's plant does not work for another person's plant. So although it may be saying, I've heard, varying degrees of, how many times you should water it and yada, 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 right? The current conditions I have the plants in. Right now I have the mint plant inside of like an aluminum foil container thing, which you be putting the cornbread in and shit. I have it in that. And what I do with that plant is that it's on the windowsill and it gets direct sunlight, and I put a little bit of water, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan, the aluminum pan, and then I have that plant sitting in there in its pot, so it soaks up the water from the roots. And at first I had, my other basil plant sitting in the same aluminum pan, and I had it on the same regimen for like the first 2 days, and I immediately noticed, like, oh my god, I literally just got this plant. Like, I noticed it within the first couple of hours at the house. I immediately got this plant. It was already starting to die. And so at that point I slowed down. I said, okay, what am I doing wrong here? I literally just got this plant. And so I'm over here. It took me a couple of days. I'm looking at the plant. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, what do? Basil plants usually need a lot of water. So I was touching the soil. I was looking at the leaves. And I said, maybe I need to water a little less. I can't tell. I think I'm overwatering it. I couldn't fully tell. But I just knew I needed to do something in order to, prevent it from dying. So I took the basil plant, and then at the same time, the mint plant was thriving. The mint plant has been fucking thriving. She looks great, okay? And so I look at my basil plant, and I said, okay, you know what, brainstorm idea. I went and I got a couple pieces of paper towel. I folded it up, I took the basil plant out, and I put the basil plant on that paper towel, and I let it sit there. And so here we are, fast forward days later, and I immediately noticed within the first 24 hours it looked like it was already getting better. And I said, okay, so here we are, fast forward, I think it's been like a week, and the mint plant still thriving. I'm still have it on the same regimen. The basil plant, it's been growing stronger and stronger each and every day. Like, she's actually standing up straight now. I had to cut off a lot of the leaves because they were dying, withering away, and I had to a lot of the stems ended up dying out, so I'm only left with probably like 3 stems of basil, right? But I was touching the basil today, and this was before I was watering the mint, and I noticed, and I could feel the difference. Felt so much stronger. And also I noticed, I immediately stopped watering it every day. Like, I wasn't doing that. I'm not even really putting much water in it. Every now and then I put the basil plant inside of the aluminum pan with the mint, and then I'll take it back out like the next day. And so the mint plant gets watered twice a day. The basil plant maybe gets watered once a week, maybe twice a week. And as I observe my plants, I thought about us as people, so yes, all this long-winded plant talk just to talk about this. Yeah, sometimes you'll look at a group of people from a specific background. Oftentimes what works for a lot of people from that background can work, but not always all the time, because we're all each individual people. And so, what may work for like fulanito de tal por allá y fulanita por ahí, so what may work for like half the island isn't going to work for every single person on the island. Yes, we all come from the same background and raised in similar ways, but that doesn't always mean that what works for you is going to work for me. And not only that, also, as people in the world in general, what works, we can have two completely different people that are maybe have certain similarities, have certain likes and some of the same dislikes and likes, but that doesn't always mean that they should be together. Just because you have some things in common doesn't mean that ultimately y'all gonna be able to sit in the same pan. Okay. We oftentimes we can find chemistry with a lot of people, but we differ in terms of our values. The things that are really important to us, the things that are non-negotiables. And oftentimes, I think as people, we fall into the whole, I don't want to call it a trap, but the whole fixation of emotions. And, you find yourself in positions like you do with the mint and the basil, where you're sitting in this pot and, and you're trying to mold yourself to be able to grow in the same, habitat, in the same environment as this other person, but you can't because those aren't your values. And you're trying to put yourself into this box that you can't put yourself in. It's not going to work for you. Maybe it works for them, and maybe it would work for another person. Maybe it would be a thriving relationship if fulanito was with fulanita over there, because they can thrive in the same como se dice, in the same, what was I saying? God, se me acabó el inglés. Can thrive in the same pan because they got the same set of values and same set of morals. But you can't thrive with fulanito aquí because y'all don't. No matter how much you try to be like the basil and and take as much water in as the mint likes, it's not going to work for you. You're going to end up drowning yourself. Just like our little friend here, the basil. You're going to end up drowning. Trying to, put yourself into this space that you're not meant to be in. There's people like the mint where it's a case of they see you as the basil and they love everything that makes you a basil, but they love to look at you. They love your aroma, right? You smell great. You look great. They love everything about you until they have you. And now they're trying to turn you into another plant that you're not. Sometimes people try to force us to be inside of their pan when we're not even supposed to be in there. When we came to them as the basil, and now they're trying to force us to be like the mint. Or maybe they're trying to force us to be like a parsley. They're trying to force us to be something that we're not. And it's times like that when you really gotta take yourself out of the pan and put yourself on the paper towel. Okay? Sometimes you gotta be able to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and get yourself out the goddamn pan. Because it doesn't matter how much you love somebody, how much you care for somebody, you can never mold yourself to be this picture perfect, version of the plant that they want you to be. If you're not, at the end of the day, you are you. You are proudly a basil, okay? And you need to be able to step in strong in that position that you are of you. Be you. Don't try to force yourself to be a plant that you're not. Don't try to force yourself to be in conditions in which you're not meant to thrive in. Just because maybe all the people before you were able to do it one way doesn't mean you have to do it that way too. Just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You are your own person, your own individual. Where you come from shouldn't dictate who you are as a person and how you move. Yes, we can take things from where we come from that can help us thrive and survive and that make us who we are. But once those conditions that you were brought up in and the culture you were brought up in become harmful, it's time to let it go. Just because maybe the way that you were cared for and the way you were watered worked before doesn't mean it's gonna work now. We all grow as individuals, and we shouldn't have to get put inside of a box, one container for the rest of our lives. We should be able to break outside of the box and grow as we need to. You can't always stay in the same pot. You can't. When you were a baby, when you were a seed, when you were a little seed, you were able to fit in a 3-inch little pot. But you can't fit in the same goddamn 3-inch pot once you already been growing for months, years. Now you're cramped. Your roots ain't got nowhere to go. Don't let your culture limit you. Don't let your background limit you. Don't let society limit you. Sometimes you just got to break off those chains. Create your own pot and place yourself in the right conditions so you can really flourish. Surround yourself around complementary plants, complementary people. In the plant kingdom, there's certain herbs that can be grown together. I used to have a pot. I believe it was, might be mistaken, but I believe it was parsley and basil that can be grown together. They're like complementary plants. They can thrive off of like the same conditions. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. And those are the type of environments that we need to see. The type of people that we need to see is people that thrive in the same conditions as us. A partner that thrives in the same conditions as us. Y'all don't have to be exactly the same, but it's like a puzzle piece. Y'all gotta fit. If you can't thrive in the same soil, in the same sunlight, somebody gonna end up withering away. Am I channeling? Is that what's happening? I don't know. That might be what be happening. I've been wondering lately. Thank you for tuning in. Come fuck with your girl. You can go ahead and keep up with me on Instagram. I'll be writing poetry on there and just authentic shit if you like that as well. If you're on the podcast, you can check me out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can check me out on the audio podcast. It's up to you, whatever you want, honey. But yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one.